And what happened?
Yeah, started getting all the alerts. You know, we've gotten a million times before, but yeah, I'd say about 5:30 the wind really picked up. It got really scary. We grabbed the kids, ran into the bathroom, heard some loud banging, and you know, just hoping and praying for the best. So all things considered, pretty lucky that this is all that happened, because you know, obviously that tree has survived many hurricanes and tropical storms, and it's done fine. So something big came through. Well, I'm not sure what, but you know, all things considered, very lucky.
And you got right after it. You got the tree company right out here to remove the tree.
I did. Audubon Tree Service, they've been great. Yeah, I got them out here first thing this morning, just get that off the roof. I don't know what other kind of weather's coming in, so you know, first priority, and they got right on it.
Can you tell us what it sounded like at 5:30 this morning?
Yeah, I mean, the lightning and thunder were crazy, obviously, I mean, for about an hour. And then within a matter of seconds, I mean, we start seeing the wind blow like I've never seen, even through Ida. And so that's when we got the kids and we got in the bathroom. And like I said, for about a minute, it was pretty scary, but it went away as quickly as it came. So very loud, very, very windy, really crazy.
And your house isn't the only one in the Navarre area that got tree damage as well.
It's not. I mean, a lot of these roads were completely impassable this morning, but everyone was out cleaning up. And so there's only, we were the only lucky ones that I think got a tree on the roof. But, you know, all things considered, very lucky.
James Shaw, thank you very much.
Thank you very
Sorry
much.
This happened to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And again, this is the type of damage that we've seen across the lake community this morning. We have some video for you to take a look at. Neighbors tell us shortly before 6, they heard what sounded like a tornado, just like James here did. And it appears the weather system damaged trees and homes in Navarre, in the Navarre neighborhood. Then it hopped over to Marconi Meadows in City Park, where it knocked down a large oak tree. And then we also saw that it crossed over City Park and knocked down trees and power lines on Wisner Boulevard. We also saw quite a bit of damage in the Oak Park and Lake Terrace neighborhoods, where there was also trees and power lines on the ground. And we also saw some street flooding early this morning near the Florida Lee Boulevard on the west end. And New Orleans Mayor Helena Moreno says the power outage at the Sewer and Water Board's Carrollton Water Plant may be to blame.
From what I understand, that plant had an issue with power, and it went offline anywhere from 30 minutes to about an hour. The issue was resolved fairly quickly, which I was so glad to see. As you know, the Carrollton plant provides the drainage power for Lakeview and mid-city parts of the city.
And the mayor said that the delay in getting the pumps running is particularly frustrating, knowing that the new West Power Complex was supposed to be the answer to the historic problems of unreliable power to power the city's drainage pumps. And she is calling for a complete investigation, as are both council members Eugene Green and Amy McCarran. They want the Sewage and Water Board to appear before the council at an upcoming meeting to also tell them what happened and what's going to be done to prevent this sort of thing from happening again. The one thought was that it may be a problem with the frequency changers. That's what converts the 60 hertz power, which is the modern standard, to the 25 hertz outdated power standard that still pumps many of the city's drainage pumps. And that's the scene here in Lakeview. Paul Murphy, WWL, Louisiana.
You know, Paul, if they didn't call for an investigation, I think the residents would be calling for an investigation into what happened after all of the funding and hope that they've put into that power complex. So that is definitely something that we're going to be asking questions about too as we move forward. Thank you for that reporting, Paul. We appreciate it.
I had rain in front of my house, and I looked out and it just kept rising, and then all of a sudden it was gone. So we could really tell that there was some sort of delay in getting those pumps on. But once the pumps did turn on, it caught up with the water pretty quickly.
Well, that's good news. And unfortunately, residents in New Orleans can tell exactly what's happening with the Sewage and Water Board just by looking out their windows. So thanks so much, Paul. Check this out. This is in Destrehan. St. Charles Parish also having a problem with flooding today. This is in Destrehan. I'm not sure which street this is, but I'm guessing it's around the neighborhoods off Ormond Boulevard. We did hear that there were some homes that had some water in them in that area in St. Charles Parish, so a difficult scene for people there. Lots of questions about whether or not a tornado came through there and St. Rose. It was something that we were watching closely. Our meteorologists were all morning long during the height of this storm situation. So this flooding is the aftermath of all of that, and residents have had a tough time there trying to navigate those parts around Ormond Boulevard and other parts of St. Charles Parish as well. You can see this is from Facebook and from one of our viewers there who submitted this video to us. But we have been keeping tabs on the Destrehan area throughout the morning because of that. And Lily Cummings is joining us live out there now. She's been kind of keeping tabs on what's happening in St. Charles Parish for us. She's in Luling. So Lily, how's the damage there? Lots of homes with damage to them?
Hey, Katie. Yeah, so I want to start off with the good news here is that I spoke with officials here in St. Charles Parish that tell me that there was no reports of tornado damage across the parish. But take a look at what I'm standing in here. This is Luling Estates Drive right near Hackberry Street in Luling. We went out in search of some of these spots, these hot spots for standing water, because as you said, parish officials did tell us that there was some standing water earlier this morning in Destrehan. So we started there at about 10 this morning, saw that it had obviously gone down, started making our way to some of these other neighborhoods and areas, and wound up here in Luling, where you can see the water is almost to my knees at this point. The water going down extremely slow on this street. Clearly, there is some sort of issue, whether that be drainage issue, pumps not working. We're not exactly sure at this point. I have reached out to parish officials to figure this out. Another bad piece of information for you here, it was trash day. So all of these folks' bins were out as this rain came down in the early morning hours, and you can see that trash is now just riddled throughout this street and possibly even making that drainage a little harder, stopping up those drains at this point. Now, we did speak with a few families further on down the street. We did have to wade through some water to talk to them earlier today. They were explaining to us that their cars got a little water in them and even some of their homes. This street is facing a particular challenge because it actually goes downward. It slopes downward. So it's getting deeper and deeper as you look down Luling Estates Drive here. But I'm going to have Mark spin around and show you something that you probably won't believe now seeing me standing in this water. If you spin around and look at this street on the other side, completely dry, bone dry. And so that's really what they're facing here in St. Charles Parish is these pockets, these certain streets that just got a lot of water and are not draining well. Meanwhile, you could live literally across the street and have a completely different story on your hands. So like I said, I have reached out to parish officials to figure out what exactly is going on this street. And of course, folks cleaning up behind me here, getting the water out of their homes. They told us it was about 4:30 in the morning when they started to hear the storm roll in. By 5, water coming into their dining room. Some of them, they started getting the sweep. They were sweeping out the water as it came in, and really just today trying to deal with this aftermath. Obviously, this street is impassable, so everyone's pretty much stuck in their homes at this point. But that's the update that we have for you right now here in St. Charles Parish. We'll continue to monitor this throughout the day, and it is going down. I will say that is a piece of good news. When we first arrived, it was covering the sidewalks, so you can tell that it's slowly kind of creeping down. And as I said, the street is lower, so you can tell that the water is finding its way, but obviously taking a while to do so. Katie?
Yeah, it looks like a tough situation for them. At least it's not at their foundations at this point, and they can really start to get in there and start to clean up. Unfortunately, we know how to do that, and I'm sure they do as well. But thanks for that report, Lily. We appreciate it. Earlier today, the twin spans headed to Slidell were a lot. It was a mess out there, and this is what they're looking like right now, I believe. Is this a live picture of the traffic cam? This is a live picture of the twin spans at this hour. Still some rain coming down out there, as you can see from this camera. Earlier today, though, it was rocking and rolling out there, and we will have some video of that for you in just a little while. But right now, it looks like traffic is moving across the Twin Spans. Weather not nearly as dangerous as it was before. However, the threat to the North Shore is certainly not over. We're now seeing some flooding of the rivers in St. Tammany Parish and some tornado damage as well in areas like Eden Isles. But Whitney Miller has been in St. Tammany Parish this morning, and she's joining us live now with the latest on what is happening at this hour, almost approaching 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Whitney.
All right, Katie, my IFB is out, so I can't hear you, but I do want to show you all just some of the damage that's here in the North Shore. We're at a hotel out here. Tree limbs are down. The side of this building is off. And we talked to some of the shop owners that are in this shopping center here a little bit earlier. But before we get to that, I just want to tell you, folks are trying to clean up after all of this. And the issue that they're having is that rain is continuing to come down. And just a few minutes ago, it was coming down in sheets. So I want you to take a listen to this woman we spoke with. She owns a salon in this shopping center here. Listen to what she had to say.
Well, I was kind of concerned, of course, when we did hear that they were going to have a tornado touching down in Eden Isles. But I want to say the landlord texted us and asked us if we had any damage, because the nail salon, they came in and they saw what was happening. So we immediately rushed over, because we live in a neighborhood. We live like right around the corner. Yeah. So me and my husband is next door with the barber shop. So we just rushed over to see, what happened.
What did you see so far? I know you're sweeping out some water right now. Was it just a little bit of water that got in? Tell us what you saw.
It's mostly like the back is fine. It's just a lot of water damage. Of course, there's like a fan vent on the side of the building, so I'm guessing the water must have pushed in from there and collapsed the ceiling on us. But other than that, it's not a significant amount of damage. I'm so grateful and thankful that it isn't, because I could just clean this up really quick and be open for business by tomorrow.
Okay, period. So you're going to be open for business tomorrow. You said this is the first time you've ever had to deal with something like this?
I have. I've never experienced this before, being in a tornado or nothing like that, having to recover from it.
Yeah, especially as a business owner, I know that's a lot that goes through your mind.
It does. I was nervous, because when we got off the bridge, we saw the side of the building on that side completely wiped out. So we were so nervous that, either the tree had fallen on a building or something like that significant, but we were lucky.
Yes, very, very lucky. Yeah, she is very lucky. And like I was just saying, the rain, it is on and it is off, which is, I can imagine as a shop owner, business owner, that's difficult to deal with. Obviously, with this gaping hole inside of this building here, these shop owners, let alone the residents who live here. One of the women in that salon, she works at the salon, but also has a home that got some damage as well. So a lot of pieces to pick up the next few days. And so, we'll be putting positive thoughts out for them, and hopefully they'll be able to open their businesses in the coming days. For now, in Slidell, Whitney Miller, WWL, Louisiana.
Yeah, those business owners don't play. They're like, let's go. We got to get back open for business. They know time is money. All right. Thank you so much, Whitney. We appreciate that. So grateful that no one was hurt over there. Now, we mentioned a little while ago that we had some video of the twin span. Look at this. You can hardly see anything. This was earlier today at the height of this storm situation, and you can see how treacherous it was on those twin spans between the north and south shores as people tried to navigate it at the height of the storm. Dangerous conditions out there. This is from St. Tammany Fire Protection District 1, and obviously a situation that nobody wanted to find themselves in. Now let's look again live out there right now. We do know that the rain, as Whitney just mentioned, has been coming on and off throughout the morning. Earlier, it was coming down in sheets. Right now, looks like it's just raining a little bit out there. But with every drop of rain, it makes it difficult for people who already sustained damage and for people who live along the rivers in St. Tammany. That is a big issue for those communities up on the North Shore. In addition to the pine trees, a lot of people call it the piney north up there in St. Tammany and Tangipahoa and Washington parishes because of the number of pine trees. And so those can be treacherous and difficult if they happen to fall on or near homes or businesses. And with this tornado coming through and these high winds that came through, it has been difficult for them. So the threat of rising rivers tonight is something that people are going to be watching very closely. And we want to take a quick look at the traffic cameras on I-10. Is that right? We're going to have St. Tammany Public Information Officer Michael Vincino on the phone with us as well. So, Michael, are you with me right now?
Yes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are things in St. Tammany Parish? We just saw one area where clearly the winds ripped off the side of a building. Any idea how much damage you guys are going to have to deal with?
I think there's damage parish-wide. Obviously, we had a lot of heavy rain parish-wide, and there was high water on roads on both sides of the parish. We talked earlier this morning about tornadoes and the possibility of those. While we have to wait for confirmation, I think if you walk around the Eden Isles area or the Avery Estates neighborhood, I think you'll be surprised if they don't see there was a tornado that went through that community. I was actually there this morning, and there was a couple of trees on homes, fences were knocked down, and obviously it was still raining. It was about, as of 30 minutes ago, it was still raining in Slidell. So that's obviously the real-time concern, but as the next day or two or three come along, we have to worry about the rivers rising. And that's a legitimate concern. Just yesterday afternoon, the Folsom area flooded, not because of rain, but because of water that was moving south from Washington Parish that had rained the day before. And so we got rain. Washington Parish received rain, so now that water is going to drain south into Lake Pontchartrain, but it's going to move through our community. So we may have some riverine flooding over the next day or two or three.
We were hearing yesterday reports of homes and things damaged because of that flooding in Folsom. Any idea what is happening and what the situation is there right now?
Looking at the river forecast, it looks like the river level came down, but it went back up because of the amount of rainfall that we've gotten today. And again, it has to drain the water not only from St. Tammany, but to drain the water from Washington as well. So it's right back up, and it looks like it's going to crest sometime tomorrow, which is good news, and that water can start going down. But when you talk about the rivers and the flooding, we rely on a gravity drainage system. So the water must move through the ditches, through the canals, through the rivers. But when everything is swollen, it's going to take a lot longer for that water to go out. When Lake Pontchartrain is swollen, which is where the water is going, it takes a lot longer to put that water out of the rivers, which also means it's going to take longer for the water to drain out of all of our communities. So, this could be a couple of days here, and hopefully that, we'll see how much rain that our partners and our neighbors in the north got, and that'll obviously drain through St. Tammany, and we'll see how that impacts us. But our forecast, we received one of our forecasts of about 9 to 10 inches of rain in the Slidell area within the last 12 hours, and using our metrics, that's equal to about a 50 to 100-year storm event. So we received a lot of rain, and put that on top of the river, it could be an issue for quite some time.
What is the situation with the Pearl over there in Slidell? That is typically a problem spot for you guys. Are there any neighborhoods? We mentioned Avery Estates seeing some rain. I actually saw an alligator on social media earlier walking around, which is not that unusual for that neighborhood in particular. But what are you watching at this point?
Well, it's the Pearl River near Pearl River is the forecast that we usually look at when there's concerns, and there's obviously a low-lying area back there, and I believe the neighborhood is River Gardens, those folks, there's going to be water in the neighborhoods. I mean, looking at the forecast, it's not going to start going down until next Thursday. So the water is going to be high, and this is according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, their river gauges, and so it's not quite peaked yet. It's about 15.5 now, and it's going to peak at 17.5. It's going to teeter right at major flood stage, and then start to come down next week, and then obviously a lot can change in a week. So hopefully we don't have any more rain to put on top of that, because things could become catastrophic pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, those are areas that people are somewhat used to the flooding, but
yes.
It's still difficult every single time it happens, because a lot of people get trapped in their homes and they can't get out. And have you all had any people asking for rescue at this point?
No, not to my knowledge, and there may have been reports or requests to the fire districts or the sheriff's office who have the high water vehicles. I know there was one yesterday in the Folsom area, and an elderly lady was concerned with her dogs, so she called the fire district, and they came and they performed a high water rescue and took her to safety. Obviously, wasn't water in the home, but it was a concern about being able to get out of her neighborhood if the water comes any higher.
And how's the east side of the parish? We should probably touch on that too before I let you go. But with the Chifuncta, the Bogue Chitto River, how are those areas dealing right now?
Well, looking at the Bogue Chitto, and the bigger concern is further north, and it's in Mississippi, but that water has to flow through Washington and then St. Tammany Parish before it ultimately drains. but those water levels are high, and they're almost at major flood stage and that's expected to crest tomorrow. But again, that water is going to crest and drain through Washington and St. Tammany Parish. So our water is not going to go down. And in fact, it may go up because not only do we have our own rain that we've received, we have to drain the rain that our neighbors received as well. So we have to prepare for these things. And, the folks who live near those rivers, they know what, you're talking 19, 20, 21 feet, what those different amounts mean and how that may impact their neighborhood and what covers the road and what gets close to the doorstep, or, what those different amounts are. But it's still it's obviously an inconvenience. And, all of the rivers in St. Tammany Parish, our eyes are on those rivers because while, yes, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration forecast them, we could have gotten a little more rain or a little less rain, and that may vary depending on the impacts of St. Tammany.
What are you watching most closely for tonight?
Well, I think the concern is to let this rain get out of, especially the eastern area. Just thinking yesterday when we were looking at the forecast, it was supposed to be maybe northern or western St. Tammany that was supposed to get the heavy rain. Well, it ended up being in the Slidell area. And sure, we still did receive a lot of rainfall in western St. Tammany, but it's still raining in the east, and so there was a lot of rain received there. And you put that on top of the already soaked ditches and the swollen rivers, and there's going to be flooding conditions pretty quickly. So, we're obviously concerned with, doing damage assessments, driving around, seeing how many people were damaged. And I can tell you, I drove through a neighborhood. I had a relative who had a tree fall in their home, so I went to go help them. And driving down the street, there were several homes that the roof was damaged, that there was a tree on the home, that the fence was knocked over, a wall was knocked over. And that was in the Eden Isles area. So it looked like they may one of the bigger concerns was in the Eden Isles area, and then obviously Avery Estates as well. But our crews are out doing damage assessments now to be able to get an accurate number of how many people were truly impacted.
Before we let you go, any advice for people who may be living in those areas that are at risk of flooding tonight?
Just listen to you guys. The people who live back there, they know what the amount of rain means. A lot of those folks have rain gauges, and they track the river gauges. Just please be aware. We don't want anybody to be surprised, and just to stay alert. The good thing this morning is that I know a lot of people in southeast Louisiana were awoken by tornado warnings, which is a great thing. And just make sure you continue to have a way to receive those notifications, not just for this event, but events moving forward. It could be the difference of life or death.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Michael Vincenot with the St. Tammany Parish government. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now we want to get to the forecast with Alexa Trishler to get the latest on that rain out there. So Alexa, what are you seeing on the radar?
Well, the rain is still coming down pretty hard across parts of New Orleans east towards Venetian Isles and also towards Burlington and in coastal Mississippi, Bay St. Louis to Diamond Head. There's actually a severe thunderstorm warning for this storm, but it's starting to move into Lake Bourne, but it's brushing along coastal Hancock County. We've got very, very strong winds with this thunderstorm, up to maybe 60-mile-per-hour gusts, and heavy torrential rain with this thunderstorm too. Frequent lightning, over 1,000 strikes of lightning with this giant storm that stretches from Diamond Head, Bay St. Louis, down through St. Tammany Parish, the east side of St. Tammany, along Highway 90, all the way down to Belle Chase. We still have heavy rain falling on the west bank. In Plaquemines Parish in Belle Chase, we have this thunderstorm that's moving east of Chalmette. A lot of the heavy rain, though, is shifting into Lake Bourne, which is good news, but Burlington just saw some torrential rain. We have some heavy rain and a strong storm impacting Diamond Head to Bay St. Louis. I'll take a wider look now at St. Tammany Parish because we still have some isolated heavy showers still moving into Slidell right now. One strong storm in northern St. Tammany Parish that's also headed to the east-northeast. Will be moving into Pearl River County. Picayune is getting a break in the rain, thankfully, because they still are under a flash flood warning, a considerable flash flood warning. So we're going to have flooding concerns for the rest of the afternoon, especially as we get these waves of heavy rain that pass through. It's only going to make the flooding concerns even higher. So we still have heavy showers across parts of Pearl River and Hancock County to the northern part of Hancock and the southern part of Pearl River. On the South Shore, it's more isolated rain. The city of New Orleans and Jefferson Parish, not a lot going on, just some spotty showers at this point, some spotty rain over Lake Pontchartrain. So we will have a few more scattered storms over the next couple of hours, but I think as we head closer to dinner time, like evening, like past 4 p.m. So once we get past 3 or 4 p.m., a lot of these storms are going to be winding down. But I still think for the next few hours, we're going to have some storms redeveloping, and there could be some heavy downpours and a couple stronger storms with gusty winds and lightning. And really that flooding concern is ongoing. I also want to provide an update. So I mentioned before that the National Weather Service is going to be conducting their surveys the rest of today and tomorrow as things quiet down weather-wise. So far, they have found 3 tornadoes. Of course, there's going to be more. This is only on the South Shore. They've done 3 surveys so far. They found 1 EF1 tornado with 95-mile-per-hour winds in Houma. Second EF1 tornado with 90-mile-per-hour winds on the west bank of Jefferson Parish. Third EF1 tornado with 95-mile-per-hour winds on the east bank of Jefferson and in Orleans parishes. So far, their preliminary surveys have found 3 EF1 tornadoes on the South Shore. They still have to assess the rest of the area, including St. Tammany Parish and into Mississippi. It's going to take some time because it's still raining. We still have severe storms impacting the North Shore and South Mississippi, so it's going to take some time. Getting into the next couple of days. We will provide you the updates on that when they get those finalized, when we get the preliminary data and when we get the finalized data from them. And, thank God for them to going out and kind of assess the damage and see everything that's happened and can rate these storms. I feel so horrible for all the people that had to suffer such terrible damage to their homes, to their businesses, to their cars. It's just been a nightmare today, and I feel so awful for everyone having to have gone through that. I will say we're going to have a few more scattered storms again tomorrow. Our rain chances are going to be getting lower heading into the weekend, but our rain chances are still going to be with us at least for tomorrow and even again into Saturday. It's not going to be a problem everywhere, but since the grounds are so saturated, like we've been saying, we could still see some flooding concerns even tomorrow and again on Saturday. Localized flooding, it's not going to be an issue everywhere, but we have to be on high alert at least for some street flooding going into tomorrow as well. And even into Saturday, there's still going to be a low risk of flooding because the grounds are so saturated. It won't take much to trigger some flooding concerns across the area. So we'll have flooding rains possible for some of us the rest of today. Of course, we're starting to dry up in a few key areas, but any more showers that pass over those spots, we're going to have to watch closely. More storms in the mix, though, for tomorrow and Saturday. We're watching for the flooding. Again, the big thing is the river flooding, too. North Shore rivers and South Mississippi rivers and creeks are going to keep on rising, maybe to even near record levels for some. So it's going to be something to really be mindful of in the coming days. Thankfully, we get into the weekend, Sunday into next week, we finally dry up. It's going to be heating up, we'll be in the 90s, but we'll get a chance to dry up going into next week. We just have to get through this horrible day and a lot of cleanup ahead. And I wish everyone a bunch of luck and, hopefully we'll get through the next couple of days okay and relatively unscathed with the additional rain we'll be receiving the rest of today and tomorrow.
Absolutely. And you would say it's good advice for anybody who's living near those rivers. Yeah. If you think that there's a possibility that there could be historic flooding, right, get out now.
Exactly. And I think Meg Farris did actually include something. She had sent us an email and she said since the Tchefuncte River, like we mentioned, is going to crest at 21 feet by midnight tonight, they say Tammany Fire District is going to go back to Park Lane, where we did the live shots yesterday, to urge everyone to leave and to help people get out. So they're going to allow people to take their animals with them in the evacuation, and they're urged to bring everything they need, like medications, things like that, because it's just going to be too dangerous as that river continues to rise.
Okay, so people need to take action now in order to prepare for the possibility of some historic flooding in areas like you just mentioned, and of course over in Hancock County, Mississippi. But thank you so much, Alexa. Let's take a look before we leave you this afternoon at some of the things that we have seen today. Look at this. This was in Metairie on Apollo Drive. It was absolutely underwater earlier today, and you can see lots of cars stalled out there. You cannot even tell where the road begins and where any of the water sources in that area end. So this was a treacherous situation for a while. Obviously, lots of people got stuck in that area. Thankfully, the water is starting to recede, and hopefully it stays that way for the rest of this event. Now, check this out. This is in Lafreniere Park. This is an aerial view of Lafreniere Park. Look at the water that you see in Lafreniere. I mean, this is not something that we see every day. This is from an airplane as it was landing at the airport this morning. And look at the view down below and all of the water that was sitting just in the park and even in some streets there. We haven't heard any reports of water in homes in this specific area, but we are still trying to survey which areas have damage out there. Now, look at this. This is a live look at Veterans Boulevard and I-10 You can see there, traffic is flowing smoothly. Things are getting back to normal little by little as we work our way through the afternoon today after a very rough morning this morning. I know my morning began with lots of tornado warnings, grabbed my kids, got into a closet at my house in Metairie. So people have been dealing with this since the very early morning hours. And we want to thank you for staying with us through it all. I know I want to thank our meteorologists for doing such an incredible job all morning long and keeping us all safe out there. We will bring you the very latest on this storm event starting at 4.